I want to thank everybody for coming in, first of all. I know the weather's bad outside and flooding and everything else. I guess I'm crazy because I hadn't left here yet. I've been here the whole time, so maybe it worked this time, I don't know. But when I first took the job a year ago now, I had a heart, and I was doing the recruiting and with the other coaches and things like that. And there's always things we can learn. There's always things that people need to see and need to figure out in the recruiting process. And I'm very fortunate because I've had a couple of people come into my life. Ms. Bloodworth, who grew up here in Flintstone, she actually runs a company now in Atlanta called Scout Smart. And she's done a lot of recruiting stuff for our kids and gotten a lot of the kids exposure and get it out there to people. And then we have Mr. Bryan Bedford, that he's actually from Oklahoma City. He's talking to us from Oklahoma City tonight. Technology is a wonderful thing as long as I don't mess it up. And he's going to talk to us. He was formerly the TCU recruiting coordinator for all their football and everything at TCU out in Texas. And he started his own company, recruiting process, and the recruiting company. And they both graciously agreed to do this for us tonight on a basis of being able to get here and get to talk. And I wanted the 8th graders, all the way up, boys, girls, everybody, because the formula that they use and the formula that we use on a lot of our recruiting for the kids that we do, the stuff that we use can be used in other sports. It can, I was telling Ms. Bloodworth a little while ago, and I don't want to steal their thunder, I'm going to get them started. But one of my buddies, his son was a top 50 lineman in the nation. And I called him back a couple of years ago and said, what do you do? What did you do to get your son exposure? And he said, we picked 50 schools and sent an email out to them. And sent an information sheet and back to those 50 schools. I waited 2 weeks. And if I got a letter back from them, or my son heard from them, we sent them a thank you note that we're very interested. And the next 40, we sent it out again. And waited and sent it out again. And narrowed the list down. And he had all these colleges that were looking. He ended up signing at Minnesota. And then ended up deciding he didn't like football that much and quit. I'm a full ride, and now he's a bass fisherman for the school. But other than that, it's a crazy thing. But I'm going to let Diane come up. Are you good?
Well, you can go ahead and turn it over to Bryan, and then I'll...
Brian, you want to go ahead and start? I'll turn it up where they can hear. And we're going to open up sort of a question and answer period, too, where y'all can ask any questions you want to or anything like that. So, Brian, go ahead.
All right, great guys. Can everybody hear me? With a quick mic check. If you can hear me, raise your hand up, please. This is like church, okay? Now, so everybody can see my ugly mug. Raise your hand if you can see me on camera. Okay, perfect. All right. So, more importantly, since we want to make this a little interactive, how many of you got your phone with you? Raise your phone if you got your phone in your hand. Okay. So here's what you get to do. If you're on, how many are on Twitter? Anybody on Twitter tonight? I got a few on Twitter. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to use the hashtag #AskBryan. If you got a question for me, we're going to keep this fairly interactive, and you can tweet at me. And I'll take those for some of you guys that are shy and don't want to ask a question. I'll take some of those questions as well from each of you guys here. Let's pull this up. Can you guys see the blue screen there with my name on it? If I see, raise your hand. Okay, perfect. All right, I got a Cubs fan on the front row. I don't know if you guys know that, but sitting next to Diane is a Cubs fan. So you guys can give him a hard time while you raise him, because I'm sure that'll go over great. So as Kip was introduced, my name is Bryan Bedford, and I've been doing this for years, and been a Division I, Division II recruiting director, and have helped start a couple of different companies doing this as a business. And I do these workshops around the country, really to help parents and student athletes really kind of understand the process. And so today, as you guys think about it, my Twitter handle's there at the bottom, our website's there at the bottom. And then you guys tweet at me or use the Ask Bryan, and I'll make sure to try to answer as many of those questions that come in, either on the mic or through this or through this handle. But just to give you guys a little bit of background, I won't spend a bunch of time here. So I've been doing this about 20 years. So I've seen every mistake, I've seen every great situation, and I've seen everything in between. Recruiting, simply put, is kind of like a roller coaster. It's not as great as you think it's going to be or is. It's not as bad as it may happen, or maybe something happens. There are good days and there are bad days. There are days when you get an offer. There are days when coaches don't respond to emails. There are days when people lie to you. And there are days when you sign your letter of intent and it's awesome. Then there are days you go to college and you have 3 shoulder reconstructions. You blow out a knee. Met a guy completely have his femur torn in half. I've seen everything, right? So recruiting is important, and it's something that many of you guys will do. As a family, you'll probably do it only one time in your life. Some of you may have siblings, so you have to do it maybe more than once. But the reality is that this, like a lot of things that we do in life, requires a plan and a strategy. Just like, I don't know if there's very many of you that if you went in and had to go to court, you probably wouldn't do it without a plan. If you went in, there's probably a few of you that are using TurboTax to do your taxes. I probably would never do my taxes myself. I would want counsel to try to do that, right? So what Coach is opening up an opportunity is really give you guys insight on the process and how it works. And so for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to kind of give you kind of an insight on how it typically works with some notes. If you've got a pen and paper or you can take notes on your phone, I would encourage you to do that. And then at the end, we'll save some time, and either myself, Coach, or Diana, we can answer any of your questions that you've got and try to address those as they come through. So let's talk about this. Let's level set to make sure that we all understand. So here on this screen, this might be difficult in a conference room, but let me give you let me just point this out to you here.
It's kind of hard to see the numbers.
They're probably hard to read. Yeah. So let me just state this to you, okay, guys? So in high school participants, players that play football is a little bit over 1 billion players that play football across the country in the United States. Now that does not include, there's players in Canada, there's a whole bunch of players in Europe now, there's players that are playing in Australia and other countries around the world, right? Japan, etc. But if you just take the U.S. market, there are roughly 1 million players and change that play high school football in the United States of America. This data tells you that across the board, there is 6.5% of players that play high school football will go on to play some level of college football. And it just depends. Division I, the statistics say it's 2.5. Division II, it's 1.7. Division III, 2.3. So the net of it is that it's a very small group of participants that actually make the move from high school football to college football. Okay? And the same applies to other sports, whether it be track and field, to soccer, to basketball, to baseball. In fact, your sport that has the most probability of playing in college is actually ice hockey. And I probably don't have a lot of ice hockey players in Ridgeland tonight, right, as an example. So the numbers and the percentages, it's important to understand that as a baseline, because despite what maybe you read on social media or what you see out there, the opportunities are pretty slim. And so you got to have a really good game plan to maximize that opportunity, okay? Football scholarships, and because this is primarily a football audience in here, that this would apply to every other sport as well. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And I'm going to give you a little bit of color around the different levels of football and kind of how scholarships work. But they're not all full scholarships. They're not all going to Georgia Tech or Georgia. There are different sizes of schools, and their aid is certainly different that comes with it. Okay? The last piece of it is that, and we're going to touch on this as we go through, is because the scholarships differ at different levels, and again, I'm going to go through that in just a minute with you guys. That means the academic piece of this is critically important. In fact, what I advise our families that we work with is you really need to be shooting for 3.5 and above in all of your core classes. So that's, your English, your sciences, your maths, your histories, your core electives like foreign language. You need to be shooting for a 3.5 and above, and to try to shoot for 25 and above in the ACT and the equivalent on the SAT. You take that. The reason for that is because you want to make sure that you're maximizing all the aid that potentially could come in from whatever resource, whether it's football money, whether it's academic money, or whether it's any other kind of scholarship that's merit-based. Having kind of those as benchmarks is really what we advise. And it also unlocks some net new opportunities for you, because without that, you're going to have, there are college requirements above and beyond just the base eligibility requirements that you're going to need to be shooting for. So again, my advice would be, at a minimum, be shooting for 3.5 and above. That's A's and B's. That's 4 A's and 2 B's in every class, in your classes, and do everything you can to get prepared to take the standardized test. And if you can shoot for 25 as a full-time student athlete and above, it puts you in a great spot. The other pieces of this is that each of the roster sizes, this is important as I get into the scholarships here in just a minute, each of the rosters at most of these schools have at least 105 to 110 players. In fact, many of them, as you get into some of the smaller schools, may have many more than that. They may have 120, 130, 140 kids. And so, as you think about the roster and the opportunities, some of these certainly have some scholarship athletes, but some of them will have non-scholarship or walk-on student athletes that will be part of those programs. And those are good. Those can be really good options as well, depending on the circumstance. All right, so if you got a pen and paper, you got a place to take some notes, here's maybe another good spot to take some notes at. So a lot of guys, the heat map here that you see this picture, again, this may be difficult, but you probably see kind of the red jumping out a little bit. It tells you where major college football recruits its student athletes. And so Georgia is the 4th most popular state in the country, behind Texas, Florida, California. It is actually leapfrogged the state of Ohio. So there's this huge trend in the Gulf South from Virginia all the way to Texas. That is where the bulk of the majority of colleges are getting their players from the kind of the Gulf South region. So that's good if you're in Georgia. If I was to do this presentation in Wisconsin, probably not so good, right? So your probability is as high as it probably can be nationally, especially for the size of the population in the state. But here's where kind of the rubber meets the road when you think about the number of scholarships. So FBS is Georgia, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Florida State, Florida, Alabama. It's Toledo. It's the University of Charlotte. It's places like that. That is football bowl subdivision. Okay, the guys that you guys are watching, or you ladies are watching on Saturday afternoons play on ESPN, they have 85 full scholarships to offer. And in a given class, they can typically sign 25 prospective student athletes. Okay, so there's some retention if you do the math. Some kids are redshirting, and so all the classes are not completely balanced. But they've got 85 full scholarships to award at a given time. They can't go over that. So that means if their roster size is 110 players, they've got about 25 people on their roster that are walk-ons or preferred walk-ons. Okay? In FCS, this would be like a Mercer. This would be like a Chattanooga, or a school of that size. North Dakota State, South Dakota. It'd be all the Ivy League schools we do in FCS. They have 63 full scholarships that they award. Again, roster size about the same. So if you do the math, that means they're starting to get to where they're looking at high academic kids to make up the difference between the 63 scholarship, the difference between what they need to get the roster built out correctly. They might even be giving partial scholarships to a few student athletes. or they're looking at kids that qualify for state aid, Pell Grants, things of that nature to kind of round out the differences. NCAA Division II, you're going to have a bunch of schools that are playing NCAA Division II around the country. In fact, I think you guys had a few kids that potentially signed recently that were NCAA Division II kids. You have 36 full football scholarships. Again, roster size still 110, 115, something like that. So most of the schools are offering 25%, 50%, maybe 60, 70% of a full scholarship. And the rest of it's coming through Pell Grants, it's coming through student loans, it's coming through academic scholarships, it's coming through local entities that may, Kiwanis or whatever it may be. So they're rounding that out. And then the final two are Ncaa. You've got a bunch of programs in the Southeast that are Ncaa programs as well. They have 24 full athletic scholarships, and then again, a lot of academic aid that's coming in. Most of your Ncaa schools are going to be private schools and pretty costly to go to, candidly. And then finally, you have NCAA Division III. And so these are typically high academic programs that are going to require you to be 3.75, 3.90 kind of GPA, probably 27, 28 ACT kind of opportunities. Zero athletic aid. Lots of the aid is then just funneled over into academic aid, but it's based on that kind of academic profile. Okay, so doesn't mean the talent's necessarily like lower. It just means that there's kids that are really looking at high academic programs that would really position them for the long term for their family. At a minimum, you have to have, again, if you're taking notes, this is really important, regardless of what sport that you play. So if you're a parent, you've got maybe a daughter that plays soccer or lacrosse or something like that, this is the minimum requirement. This just gets you in barely, which is you got to have 16 core courses with a minimum GPA of 2.3, and the sum of your ACT scores by the 4 segments has got to be a sum of 75. Okay, so you're certainly not getting academic aid by that, but you meet the minimum requirements so that maybe you don't have to go to a junior college or something like that. Which again, junior college is another option. I don't have it here on my list, but it can be another option as well if maybe you don't meet the qualifying standards. Okay, in many cases, below FBS, guys, these schools will match or stack scholarships. So what that means is, you don't have the aid program, if you have really good grades, they can add your academic money that's coming in on top of your football money, okay? And so, or any other sport. Again, this applies to really any sport. So what we really stress, and I'll take a pause here in case there is a question or Coach or Diane has a comment. What we really stress to you guys is you have to get the academic piece figured out first, and your schoolwork has to be priority number 1. Because football can go away very, very quickly, unfortunately. I hate it when kids get hurt, but it happens. And so you have to get the academic piece locked in and have a good game plan, and you as a parent need to be planning for your academic game plan and a test plan. Meaning, don't just show up. It's kind of like, don't just show up for the track meet and not have been putting in work on the track, or don't just show up for the game on Friday night without putting in the good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday workouts with coach. You have to have a test plan to be able to perform really well. But again, it all goes back to, you got to be really thinking about academics first and making sure you've got a good game plan. So let me pause there. Is there any comments or any other thing, Coach, anything I missed, or any of the comments from anybody, guys?
No, I think one of the things that's so important is that I've noticed throughout the years is we have a lot of freshmen that come in and don't really realize they might have a chance to go play college football or go play another sport, and then they grow, they get bigger, they get stronger, they get faster, and then it comes back to bite them at the end because they had, maybe some C's, maybe a couple of D's here and there as a freshman, and then they get their grades in order. So it's got to be a 4-year process, like you said. I think that's one of the major things.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, we cannot wait until we're starting our senior year to to try to make this to try to make all this work, right? You're a freshman parent tonight. This is as much for you as anything, because have you met with the counselor? Do you understand that have you looked at the transcript? Are you taking just basket weaving and art when you could be taking another an elective that would be part of the core classes, right? So certainly important, guys, to make sure that you're grounded in that. And then when they look at your core GPA, right, it's based off of your core classes. So when your eligibility comes up, just because you made an A in off-season football, or you were taking art, and I love it, but it doesn't count as a core class. So your eligibility requirements are based off the core classes only. So a lot of parents will say, yeah, well, his GPA is XYZ, but two of the classes don't even count, right? Because they're not core classes. So from a compliance standpoint, we're looking at your core GPA only when we're doing that. And then again, just to get off this slide here just for a minute, just realize, folks, that again, there are lots of different options for football to be played at multiple different levels. So the chances of you playing at the FBS level, there might be one person in the room, maybe. And I don't even know, Coach, I don't even know your squad, to be honest with you, but the data says there might be one in the next out of your 3 or 4 classes. That's just the reality of it. So realize and look at all of your different options. Don't close any doors at this stage regardless of what year you are in school.
Hey, Brian.
All right, so go ahead, Coach.
Hey, could you touch on, and I think you did a minute ago, but touch on what that FBS player looks like. You can pick any position you want to.
I'm going to show you right now. Here's all the data. So hopefully, I know this might be a little difficult, but let's just show you an offensive tackle. Okay, so an offensive tackle this is all the verified data that came in from the early signing period in December. The offensive tackles nationally were 6'5.5", 290 pounds. They ran a 5'4", 840, and a short shuttle of 496 at a vertical leap of 24. That is a large human being running very fast. Okay. If I take linebacker on the defensive side of the ball as well. So the linebackers were 6'1.5", 212, ran a 4.79, pretty fast at that weight. And then 4.43 in the short shuttle, that's moving very fast. And then was at 32.5 vertical leap.
Yeah. Hey.
The bottom line here, folks, is that these kids are very much unicorns. There's not very many of them in the country. In fact, if I go to this slide right here, and this may be again.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian, we had a technical difficulty. I tried to make it bigger and actually pull the projector out, so it's got to cool down and get back in.
Yeah.
We can still hear you and everything.
We can still hear you. I was just going to make one comment while that's warming back up about the academics. So we talked to a lot of college football coaches because with Scout Smart, we're selling to the football coaches. And not only are the academics about being eligible and being selected, the coaches want smart players. I mean, we were at Auburn and they told us we want the kids who can actually do well in the classroom and have been proven and take classes like math. Believe it or not, they're looking for kids who can reason and think logically and are on top of things. So it's not just about getting that scholarship. These coaches are now looking, again, there's some athletes that are going to get picked no matter what, and we know that, right? As long as they can get into the school. But if you're on the bubble, they really are looking for smart players.
I would just add to that. Part of the reason for that, guys, is they're trying to understand: can you handle the academic load that comes with playing in college, right? And not every kid has the ability to do that. So if they think Well, I've got the same level prospect. One is a 2.5 student and one's a 3.5 student, and his ability to handle the demands of being a college student athlete go up dramatically based on that profile. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that the success rate is much higher when you have that kind of foundation.
Yeah, I think
Okay?
I think we have one more comment or question here in the room on that.
Well, and
See the screen back up?
it's back up.
Okay, perfect. So let me show you this just to give you guys some ideas on when we think about the national FBS prospects. This is what a lot of people get enamored with. So the far left column is the signees with the biggest Power 5 schools in the country. So you see the state of Georgia had 101 signees in December. I didn't do it for last week. But in December, they had 101. So that was the fourth largest group of signees by state in the country. Now, if you take that and you extrapolate that, in the middle column, you'll see the number of prospects that signed by position. So probably got 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the room. There was only 61 signed with a Power 5 school in the country. 61 quarterbacks in the country. Okay, not very many, okay? But be glad that's almost triple what a kicker, punter, and long snapper was, right? 23 in the early signing period. So, as you guys, think about it, you need lots of linemen, you need lots of D linemen, you need lots of linebackers, you need lots of receivers, you need lots of DBs. So those are the positions where there are certainly more numbers when you think about it. And the same thing applies right-hand column, which is the group of 5 schools like Charlotte and places like that, where the numbers are almost a one-for-one comparison when you think about kind of the percentage based on quantity. Okay, so guys, we're literally talking about less than 1,000 players in the country. That was like a dash right. Saw that. We're literally talking about less than 1,000 players in the country that get this opportunity. Okay, so again, not to burst anybody's bubble, but it's simply just to kind of share with you guys what we're dealing with. All right, so let me move forward.
Hey, Brian, I've got one question real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, it's just a comment that I have been through this once with my oldest daughter. I'm going round 2 with my youngest. But the biggest thing that we realized that we had to do was when he's talking about having a testing plan with ACT, you need to definitely take that ACT in the junior year. You need to know which schools will take a super score, which is taking that test 3 times, and they take the highest part of each one and bunching it together. Some schools I found out on a visit last week, because they reduced, it was a private school at University of Cumberland 2 years ago, they reduced tuition 57% from $32,000 a year to $19,001, and that didn't matter if you're in state, out of state. That was what it was for everybody. But they no longer stack financial money. So just because one university tells you you may qualify for X amount of financial aid for either base need or academics, don't assume that's what you're going to get at each university, because they will run you through everything first, and then they will talk to you about how much athletic money they have or how much academic money you have. And some coaches will say, hey, if you'll get this, I know my oldest daughter, they said, if you'll get this, if you'll do honors, that'll pay 52%. Softball will pick up 48. So we had to pay nothing, but it was $37,000 a year she got free. So you have to look at that, and some schools offer what is a 250R. If you live 250 miles from them, they'll give you an intermediate tuition that's not in state, but it's not out of state. It can help you. If y'all have questions about that, you can come see me. I can talk to you about it all day long. Sorry, just want to throw that in there. ACT junior year, definite.
Like we got some guys that are going to take it to the end of their sophomore year this year, Brian.
Yep.
Just to be able to get a baseline score and be able to know where they need to go from there.
Yeah, so, the bottom line is, guys, have a plan, and as a parent, have a plan. Be invested in that home, just be happenstance. And not just take the ACT or SAT at a given time, but your school, I'm going to assume, coach, but maybe they don't, or at least your district probably does. They have test prep things that you guys can be part of, or at least in the region, there are places that you guys can go. And, even if it costs you $30, $40, $50,
We actually have a former teacher here that does 36 University, and it's a corporation. And we have computer licenses for about 40 something, I think, here at the school, and then we have the ability to do that stuff also. So, we're in the ground floor of that, but we're trying to get it all working and going right now.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. All right, so let's talk through this. So this picture here that you see on the screen, this is actually all the players that played in the national title game. So you can see just huge swath of talent, certainly in the Gulf South, which is just awesome. But how do they recruit? So let's talk through this. And this is a little more football specific. Some other sports, there's some nuances to how they do it, but for football, I'll kind of speak to you. So there's really kind of four main things that go on when we think about this. Number one is film, not lie. Like, guys, one of you guys would tweet me today and say, "Hey, Bryan, look at my huddle film and give me an evaluation." It takes me less than 10 plays to tell you it's really about 5 plays, to be honest with you, kind of where you slide. Okay, so when you've done this a long time, it does not take very long to kind of figure out kind of the level that you can play. At least get you kind of in the ballpark. Then there's a lot of other evaluations in person, but the first is, you have to be a really good player. Let's just be honest. You got to be the best teammate. You got to have the best character. You got to be in the weight room with coach every day. You got to be the very best player, and that film has got to show up when you're on all over YouTube. Okay. Number 2, that character will shine, good or bad. If you are not a weight room guy, you are late to practice, or you do not finish your position-specific drills, or you are a problem in the classroom, then it is coach's obligation to represent what you do, good or bad. If you are doing good, he will tell them that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. If you do not hold up your end of the bargain at Ridgeland High School, then he is obligated as a man, morally, to tell them, "Hey, little Johnny doesn't hold his end of the bargain. He doesn't come into the weight room. He doesn't show up to some pride." And they are asking them for his candid evaluation. Would you want little Johnny on your team if you got to pick? And he can say yes or no. And so you control that. As a member of this team, you control the character piece of it, right? So critically important that you guys are doing that, so that as coach talks to college coaches, as they make inquiries, they're not going to talk to mom and dad. They're not going to talk to anybody else. They wouldn't talk to somebody like me. They want to talk to your high school coach and get that evaluation. And they do that regionally. So typically those coaches will come through and, if you're a school that recruits Georgia, you might have 4 or 5 coaches that recruit the state. Now, it might be the quarterback's coach might be coming through Ridgeland, and there's a lineman there. And he's got 50 schools within a couple of counties, and he's responsible for uncovering every stone in those couple of counties and looking at all 50 of those schools. And then from there, it'll go to the position coach. He might say, "Hey, if I just use that example, I got a really good lineman at Ridgeland," and then he shows the film to the position coach or to the coordinator or whatever. So they're going to start regionally recruiting, position agnostic, and they're going to work up into the position coach. Sometimes it works out where your position coach is the one that comes through Ridgeland High, but it's about 50-50 or 40% of the time. It doesn't always work that way, so that's okay. That's just kind of part of the process. The third thing is there are third-party companies that source a bunch of data, and they're evaluating you whether you know it or not. I've got 2 here on the screen, National Preps and Exos. they do this, they make their money by basically outsourcing their professional services to the Alabamas and the LSUs and the Tennessees of the world, the Chattanoogas of the world, the Mercers of the world. These schools have restrictions on how many players, or excuse me, how many coaches can be out on the road at a specific time, and so they need some additional help. And so if you're Alabama, you got more money than God, you will hire some third-party companies to help you source information, and they do that. Or if you're Tennessee and you don't have enough bandwidth on your team to be able to go find out the top 8th and 9th graders in the country, but you need to get an early start on them, you will outsource that to some different companies to do that. The reason why I share that with you guys is that you can help influence that, and you can help make them aware of who you are, and especially the young guys who maybe aren't quite in the national systems. There's an important kind of third-party element here where they're part of the evaluation process. Now, they're not the gospel, they're not the exact authority, they can't make an offer, but typically, these are former recruiting guys, former coaches. They know their way around, and they can evaluate. So if they say, hey, this kid's a Division I kid, or this kid's a Division II kid, or this kid's an FCS kid, that report has some pretty decent weight. Again, it's probably seen as pretty legit. And then those coaches can then use that as a way to kind of decipher who I should really recruit. So they might look and their list might have 150 guys that they've kind of ranked as Division I potential. But again, if I do the math and say there's only 101 that signed Division I in December, that means that they don't get it, but that at least gives them a target. So, and then the last piece of it is camps. And I know you guys have probably been exposed to this. I'll make this statement. Don't confuse getting invited to a camp with being recruited. Okay? Those are two different things. Okay? They want every kid to come to camp. Every kid. Okay? They want every kid to come to camp. Because you got to remember, there's probably a GA or a young guy on staff. His job and how he makes a living is making money off of kids coming to camp. Nothing wrong with that. I'm guilty as charged. I did that once upon a time to make a living. Okay? But don't confuse getting invited to camp with being recruited and using camps as an evaluation tool. Many people will wait. Not everybody, but a lot of schools will wait. They want to see you come to their camp, and they want to make an evaluation of you. When I talk about camps, I'm specifically talking about school camps. I'm not talking about a media company or rivals. Some of that stuff can be good. Some of that stuff can be an absolute waste of time. Hopefully you're not with me there. But the point is, the school camps do matter. And our advice, my advice for years has been, they typically happen the first couple of weeks of June and then late July. It's typically the two windows. My advice is, you need to pick 3 or 4 of them. You need to pick a couple in June, maybe a couple in July. They need to be close and realistic based on either an evaluation from a professional or an evaluation from coach that tells you where the types of schools you need to go to. And I'll give you an example. I had a kid here in Oklahoma City. He signed last week. He was a great high school football player. Threw for 4,000 yards, all state, all city, all that stuff. But he was 5'10" and 170 pounds. And his parents were flying him to Georgia and also LSU and a bunch of places. And I just had to tell them, guys, you're just wasting your time and money. Because he's not fast enough, he's not big enough, he doesn't have the measurables, and he's not a good enough player. And that was a little bit of hard coaching, but the reality is, when we went into his senior year, we had a really good plan of camps that made sense and were realistic, and he could get an offer from them, and those were the places that he ended up getting financial aid offers from. It's because he was realistic with his camp approach. So these are the 4 primary areas that people look at when they're thinking about getting recruited. All right, I won't spend a bunch of time on it, but here are 3 calendars. These are distinctly different, okay? The one on the left is the FBS Division I calendar. Coach can get you a copy of it, or you can literally Google the Ncaa Division I recruiting calendar. The one in the middle is the FCS recruiting calendar. There are slight differences to each of these. And then the one on the right is the Division II recruiting calendar, okay? Each of them have 4 primary areas that are color-coded. They have a quiet period, meaning they can't make contact with you. They have a dead period, which means completely off limits, cannot talk to you at all. They have an evaluation period, meaning they can come and see you on your campus. That'll typically be when you do spring football, or during the fall when you're out playing games or getting prepared to play games. And then finally, the contact period, meaning it's open, you're taking visits, all that kind of stuff that's going on, right? So each of these are really important for you as a parent and you as a prospective student athlete to understand. You don't have to, we can get you copies of this if you want, but understand that there is a communication period when coaches actually can talk to you. Right now, as we get into February, it's pretty quiet. They can't talk to you right now. So they're doing a lot of research, they're gathering information, they're pulling lists, they're calling coaches to ask you questions, but they can't be on your campus, and they can't call you or direct message you or text you right now. Okay? For the most part. Alright, so then the last slide that I'm going to share with you guys is this, and then I'll take some questions for the last 15 or 20 minutes, okay? Number 1, all of us on this call or meeting tonight, we all have a role. All of us. Every single one of us. Even my Cubs and Braves fan that was sprinting across the room. We all have a role. Okay? Alright. So Coach has a role in that he's filling out information, he's talking to coaches about upcoming seniors, upcoming juniors, upcoming sophomores, the best 8th grader, all that stuff, right? You get a counselor that's talking to you guys about academics, and your teachers are helping you guys. And everybody's got a role. You as players, your role is you got to put the time in, both in the weight room, at practice. I love multi-sport athletes. Play all the sports you can play. I love multi-sport athletes. And you've got to be able to have an adult conversation with an adult man, most likely, who's recruiting you, or woman who's recruiting you to come there either as a football ops or recruiting director or position coach. Okay? You've got to have a grown man's conversation, even though you're 15 or 16, because they don't want to talk to me, and they do want to talk to your coach, but they're not going to recruit him. They're going to, they want to talk to him about character. They want to have conversations with you, and so you've got to be prepared to do that. But even before that starts, you've got to be able to put the work in, both academically and football-wise, to get yourself in a position to do that. And then you may have some trusted advisors. There may be a pastor. There may be a youth pastor. There may be a school guidance counselor. There may be a crazy uncle. There may be your grandpa or your grandma. Or there may be somebody like me that serves as a trusted advisor to help you through this process. We all have a role. And it's important that we all take advantage and utilize that as we go through this. Okay? We've beat up on this horse pretty hard today, right? Test scores and grades have got to be put farther up into the process, and you guys have to understand it. Guess what? Nobody controls that except you. Coach can't make it an A, B, C, D, or F. Only you can make that. Okay? So you as parents get to be harping. I've got a teenage daughter myself. We're talking about schoolwork, missing assignments, grades, upcoming tests every week. We're getting on Parent Portal or whatever you guys use there in Richland every week, looking at different things. You as a student athlete, you control your grades, and it will differentiate you. If you don't believe me, and you think I'm lying, feel free to try it on your own and get a 2.3 and just scoot in. Those that have the best grades, the best test scores, will put themselves at a distinct advantage. Be the best teammate you can be. Right now, be in the weight room, go to off-season track, go to practice, in the classroom, do all the things that you can be to be the very best teammate you can be. That shows character. That is one of the questions that coach will ask. That coaches will ask of your coach. Have a plan. We talked about it. Camps. Be smart. Go to places that are legitimate places and opportunities for you guys. If Georgia's not recruiting you, and you know they haven't called you in the spring, you go up, get a t-shirt, take a picture with smart, but you might as well just hand them $50 because the chances at that point, if it's not something that coach isn't aware of, they're not recruiting. Sorry. Don't mean to burst anybody's bubble, but don't waste your time going to places that can't or won't recruit. If you don't kind of fit into that measurable category, if you don't have a unique skill set that differentiate yourself, go to places that will recruit you or are recruiting. Go to places that are much more realistic for you and spend your time at those camps rather than taking a bunch of moonshots on places that probably aren't a fit. Now, if you want to go to one of those just for the experience and say that you did, you're a huge Virginia Tech fan and you want to go to that camp, that's fine. I totally love it. Totally, everybody wants to live the dream. But be realistic. Have some other places that you can go to. And if you're going to go to camp, you need to be ready to go perform. Close your ears, moms, but camp, guys, is the underwear Olympics. Right? It is literally the underwear Olympics. You're going to go, you're going to run a 40, you're going to do vertical leap, you're going to do short shuttle, and you're going to do a little bit of one-on-one there, but it's based on measurables. How long you are, both height and length, and how fast do you run, both in short spaces and long spaces, is really what they're evaluating. Okay? So, I always tell guys, you need an 8-week training cycle to be ready to go to camp. So if camp is the first week of June, you need to be ready to go with a training plan by April 1st. That training plan could be, hey, I'm going to off-season track and I'm working with one of our assistant coaches on my start. Or after off-season football, we'll work on the short shuttle with coach. Or I'm going to do the 3-cone drill with coach. Or I'm going to seek an outside speed coach. Or whatever it is. But you got to be ready to go compete. It's like the ACT test. If you just show up and throw up, it ain't going to be a good outcome. That's not a pleasant experience, right? Here's the next bullet, 8-hour rule. Huge proponent. When I say 8-hour rules, that means the coaches that are going to recruit at regional high school are primarily within 8 hours. You don't need to be focused on Sacramento State, USC in California, or UCLA. Guys, temper that a little bit. Places that are going to recruit at regional high school are typically going to be within 8 hours of where you guys are sitting right now. Okay, so focus your efforts there on that 8 hours. Okay, be ready for communication. If you're a sophomore, communication can start with outbound correspondence July 1 of your junior year. If you're a senior, you may start getting some communication via text and direct message and email. Okay? And then on the inverse of that is, what are you doing to communicate? Right? And I don't want to go into a bunch of detail. Coach talked about it, but build a target list, build a priority list, start to communicate with them. You guys can control that process of communicating to them. Don't just sit back and think, oh, I'm magically going to get recruited. Put it in your hands and be proactive with it. There's my cup stand. Okay, social media, right? Control the narrative on social media. No bad language, no naughty pictures, no bad retweets. This is like Twitter, a church. If you can't tweet it in a church, you should be tweeting it at 11 o'clock on Friday night, okay? So raise your hanky if you can say hallelujah in the audience for that one, okay?
Bryan, I would have put your real name on there.
Yes, put your real name. So here's an example of one of my guys, right? His name, his school, year that he graduates, his height, his weight, his GPA, his measurables, and his ACT score. Okay? Now you don't have to put your email there, but I mean, again, this is how people find you. Okay? Don't have some code name for your Twitter handle. I mean, that's all cute when you're in 5th grade, guys. Twitter right now is your primary tool for recruiting. Use your real name, be a grown man, use your real picture. Don't use some, crazy gaming thing. Take it serious because this is the number one vehicle that coaches are going to use for recruiting. Okay?
Would you add keep it unlocked?
Yeah, absolutely. Open for everybody, and make sure that your parents, listen to me, make sure that your parents have access to your Twitter. If your mom and dad are sitting there and you have not looked at the Twitter direct messages from your son, you need to tonight. Tonight. And I know I got a bunch of guys that are running their eyes
You got the back door.
That's fine. I'm going to tell you, parents, if you're not taking it serious, you should be, because there is communication happening with adults that are inquiring, or they're following up, or they're asking questions, or they're trying to get coach's cell phone number. Make sure that you can look at that at least periodically. Okay? And then the last couple of things. Visits, you're going to take a bunch of them, do your research. You got official visits, which are paid visits. You got unofficial visits, you got game days, you got junior days. Man, be smart with those. Go to places that make sense for you, but take them. They're part of research. Take a pen and paper, ask a bunch of questions. Figure out what you want to, what your son, or if you got daughters here, what you want to study. Really, really important. And educate yourself. Talk to coach, seek out counsel. You can call me, you can inquire about what we do, but make sure that you're educating yourself. And then finally, guys, plan. This is not about playing ball for the next 4 years. You need a plan for 40 years, not 4 years. So, what are you going to do when you're an old guy like coach? Do you want to be a teacher coach? You want to be an engineer? Do you want to work at a software company? Do you want to be an entrepreneur like Diane? Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a dentist? What do you want to do? You be thinking about that right now, guys, because that should shape the decisions and how you prioritize the schools that you're going to be considering. Don't go to, if you want to be a doctor and they're not going to let you take labs or they don't have a biology program, why are you going there just because they got a football program? Prioritize what you want to do long term in that 40-year plan, not 4 years. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with this. I appreciate all your time. I could go on and on and on about this stuff. Let me just leave you with this. I'm going to give you the 2-minute commercial. Okay? So guys, I've done this for years, helping families all over the country. Okay? This is what we do as just advising families who have never gone through this. We do evaluations on all of our kids, sit down with them, do 90-minute kind of recruiting meetings where we go through the specifics and how that evaluation maps to them. We have national contacts, we have national strategies for how we do this. We go through all the templates for how to communicate, for how to do social media, for how to do videos, for how to do where to select camps, all that kind of stuff. We have portals, all that kind of stuff. If we can help you, feel free to reach out. My contact information, if you want to take a picture, is right here. You can shoot me a text tonight. You can email me. You can get it from Coach or Diane. I'd love to help, but I'll leave you guys leave some time here to answer some questions, Coach. But thanks for the time, for sure.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
Anyone? Anyone?
Gotta have on the mic. Got one here.
Where?
No.
Raise your hand.
Come on, guys. Come on. Show us some character.
Come on.
Show us some character. Ask a question. Surely you have some questions about this. This is your future.
Hey, Brian, I've got one. We had this happen. We had
Whatever.
Been out here a couple of years ago. It's been about probably 10 years ago now. But a major SEC coach came in, and the first thing he wanted to do, he didn't want to talk to the coaches. He went around to all the teachers that had that athlete. How many times have you seen that happen? And
All the time. All the time.
the second part of it, who makes the final decision on scholarship offers?
Head coach or coordinator, depends on the staff.
That's what I wanted, because a lot of people think that the recruiting guy can put it out there, and the offer has to come from the head coach first, or the recruiting.
Typically, it's not, I mean, some staffs give a little more flexibility to that, but typically, head coach and coordinator. Yep.
Okay. That way he can hear you better.
How do you figure out, like,
where a college stands? I know it's kind of the communication with your son, but
Repeat that, Coach.
How do you determine where a college stands? Because they may say, hey,
Well-
we like you, we like this, and you know, somebody, say a coach at another place says, hey, they're gonna offer your son or whatever, and then you don't ever hear from them. How do you determine where they stand or where?
well, and today they texted and said, "What's your plan?" Well, I mean, we don't know where they stand either because they
Yeah.
signed 2 kickers already.
That, what they're asking, my kicker is in this class, and a college actually texted me today and said, what's your plan? But they've already signed 2 kickers. So what would you tell in those terms, and how do you tell if a college, I mean, these colleges have been talking to him and this, that, the other, everything like this, but nobody's ever come through with anything, but they always want to know what his plan is or what he wants to do or anything like that.
Well, number one, please everybody pay attention. This is really, 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 really important. Always assume that they're lying to you. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay? I know college coaches would hate that, but they're vacuum cleaner salesman, coach. I mean, just trust me. I mean, they're always telling them what you want to be told. So
they're gonna wine you and dine you when you first get in there, and then after they get you on the dotted line, then you a lot of times see the true color.
yeah, so I mean, just you gotta be grounded in that a little bit. You know, what I would say is, I always tell the families I work with is we're dating everybody for as long as we possibly can, so we'll play the game right back to them. They're dating everybody, they're dating every prospect, telling everybody how great they are. Guess what? We play the same game right back to them. Coach, love it, love the school, love everything about Ncaa State, great snakes and sliced bread, blah, blah, blah. I mean, but at the end of the day, you can get to a point where you can, hey, Coach, I'm going to make a decision based on who gives me the right, or who gives me the best aid for my family. And the way that you do that, again, as a student athlete, right? The easiest way to do that is you blame mom and dad. And mom and dad said, we're looking at all of our aid options from a football scholarship and academic and whatever else. And that's part of how we're going to make our final decision. And so you can have kind of a candid answer, right, that really kind of deflects it, then put it on you as a student athlete, but puts it on your parents, or hey, I need to talk to coach about this or whatnot. So that's that circle of trust, right? Everybody's got a role. But I mean, going into it, right, they're going to offer, it's a big funnel, guys, right? So they start with a bunch of people that they're trying to gauge interest from, but you want them to get to the point where, hey, coach, are you really serious about me? And you can, depending on the cycle and where you're at in the process, you can't be afraid to ask the question, right? It's kind of like when you're nervous in high school and you're not sure if you want to ask the girl out to prom. At some point, if you want to go to prom with another girl, you got to ask her, guys. So the same applies to college coaches. At the beginning, it's all cool and cute that you get a direct message from one of these schools. But at some point in time, with the counsel of coach or your parents, you can ask them, hey, coach, are you really seriously considering me? Or how do I stack rank? Where am I at on your list? Or when do you, just because you offered me, quote unquote, but there's no scholarship money tied to that yet, because a lot of times that's how that'll happen in the smaller levels. You can say, coach, when do you plan on offering the financial aid packages? Man, I know what it is, but you as a student athlete, you can ask those questions, right? Those are very fair, they're very on game, right? So I think depending on where you're at, without getting specific, coach, because I don't know the specific situation here, and I don't want to get, I want to keep this a little broad for right now. But guys, you need to be having open dialogue with your parents and your coaches and whoever your trusted advisors are to say, when's the right time to be asking a tough question to these guys? Don't let them just string you out forever. At some point in time, they got to put up or shut up.
Well, I think too.
And they will. They just don't like someone knowing how to play the game back with them.
Bryan,
Well, I think a lot of times, like, the players don't
know to be like aggressive.
The players, the statement is the players don't know to be aggressive, and that's one of, that's one of the things that has hindered the process a little bit, is that they don't realize that that's the
But asking aggressive questions.
asking those aggressive questions. They think, oh, I don't want to offend them, or I don't want to, hurt my chances in those terms. So I think that has a little bit to do with it too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you want to be respectful, and you want to be able to have an adult conversation. That's why, as you're having these, consult with that small group of trusted people, whether it's your coach, your parents, or whatever, right? But there's only so many spots here, guys. So guess what the other people are doing? They're being aggressive as well. So you got to be smart and tactful, but proactive communication, both email and direct message, and focus on places that you can play at a right level with the proper evaluation. All that mixed together with the proper level of nudging. Maybe that's the right word instead of being aggressive. Just being able to kind of nudge them. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have to know when to do it and how to do it. And so if you have a feel for that by yourself, then that's great. If coach has a feel for that, great. If you don't, and this is one of many, many things that parents don't really understand, is then you need to seek some counsel, whether that's another trusted advisor or someone like me or whatever. You're going to need to get some help on knowing when to push that button. But you will be able to do it, and it's very appropriate, as long as you tactfully do it.
Brian, we got a question right here in the front, right here.
Say we've got 3 or 4 offers. When is it time to commit? Because if you wait so long, what happens to those scholarships? Because like you said, you only got so many spots.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. You don't know when you should commit. Or if you commit too early, you ruin your chances with another college.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I think it goes back to the level of where you're getting recruited at. So let's say right now, so I have a kid right now that he has lives out in a Class A school, very small school here in Western Oklahoma, and he has gotten offered by Eastern Michigan, Arkansas State, and Iowa State. So what we've set as kind of the high watermark line for him would be like an Oklahoma State, a Texas Tech, a TCU, which would be kind of the equivalent of the middle round of the SEC, right? And you said, if we get one of those offers, we're going to need to make a pretty fast decision. Because for him, he's the guard, and he's getting recruited as a guard in a 3 technique. And most of the places are going to take 1 guard, maybe 1 center. So, my advice to them earlier this last week was, you're going to need to make a decision by the middle of June. Once we get out of camp season, for him, he's going to need to make a decision where that offer is probably gone at a lot of those places. Now, you could string it out and just play the game, but you're totally rolling the dice. Now, as you go down the list, right, then the actual offer is really an intent to offer, right? They're going to say, hey, Division 2 does this, typical Division 2 recruiting. They'll come through in May, and they'll say, hey, we're going to offer you, or we're offering you. But it's like saying, I'm going to take you out for a day with the Mountain Dew you got in your hand, or whatever that is, right? It's like, there's no backbone behind it, right? It's just an intent to offer you. Then what they do is they wait until November, December, and they actually make the scholarship financial aid offer to you, right? So in those cases, you got a little more time to make a decision, but you definitely want to be calculated. So there's nuance to the question. It's hard to give you like an exact answer, but I would say it goes back to, did you get an evaluation, and do people know really where you're getting recruited at? Coach probably has a sense on generally the top end of where you're getting recruited at. Okay? So if the top end is, there's a difference. Sorry, Georgia Tech fans, there's a difference between Georgia Tech and Georgia with recruiting. So if the top end is Georgia Tech, and they offer, then you probably take it, right? If your top end is Georgia, then you can wait as long as you want. Probably doesn't matter. You can wait because then you're a national recruit. You're gonna have 50 to 100 offers at that point in time. So you got to be smart with where you're being evaluated, but you definitely need to be honing in and having a plan. I would say Division I, I advise them probably before the season starts, because you're going to need to sign in December. So kind of have a commitment, make your official visits in the football season. FCS, you can roll the dice. You can go a little bit later, and then Division II, you need to make a decision by early January.
Hey, Brian, on that same note, and I don't mean to take up all the questions, but on that same note, will you give a distinction between a committable and non-committable offer? Exactly.
Jeez. Yeah, committable means they're going to take you right now. Uncommittable is like, offer to take you out on a date, but they never follow through. It's a bunch of garbage, and they'll do a bunch of that, to be honest with you. They may say they want you in the game, but they're just dragging this out, and they don't even know. You're either way down the list, or you're out of their reach, they can't get you. So there'll be some of those games that'll be played, but yeah, it's a bunch of garbage, to be honest with you. It's kind of a new trend in the last 3 or 4 years.
The reason I asked that question, we've had a couple of guys in the last few years that have had offers, but then they're like, well, where are they? I said, well, call them and say you want to commit right now. And what will they say? They'll go, let's hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. A lot of schools that are starting to offer multiple guys, and they may offer 8 or 10, say, linemen, but they only have 2 or 3 spots.
Right. Yeah.
So
they're saying you're in the queue. It's just a different way of saying They're saying you're in the queue of the top 10. We like 2 or 3 better than you, and if they say no, we'll come back and it might be a committal.
Right.
That makes sense.
Anybody else have any questions?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, was there one more question back here? Okay, all right, good. I just wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight, and also mention that Coach Klein has been working with me. We have Scout Smart Analytics, which the college coaches use to find recruits that fit their program, and he's made sure that his players are in the Scout Smart database. It's always free for the recruits to be in our database, and but I also believe in personal accountability, so you can download our free mobile app and make sure your height, your weight, your GPA, your test scores, all that information is accurate in your profile as well.
I'll be sending that out, but I'll add quite a bit more in the coming days, because you and I talked about some other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, guys,
Anybody can do it.
Anybody, right. So, I think that's probably all. Brian, thank you so much. I think this was so helpful to the folks here tonight.
Happy to connect with you guys. Ian has my information. Coach, you can reach out anytime. We can do another one of these in the spring or next year, whatever. Love to do these for you guys. And any other coaches that need this done, happy to help them. You guys reach out. We advise tons of families across the country through this. And so if I can help or you want more information, just go to our website, bedfordagency.com. Love to help, but keep working hard, get those academics in line, and if we can do anything for you guys, best of luck. Okay, guys? Thanks, everybody.
Brian, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. He's dropping. Yeah.